Well, my life in Concord began in 1969. I had entered New Hampshire in 1962 as an immigrant. My hometown is Montreal. And so I lived in the northern part of the state first and was a teacher at the Whitefield School, which was a K through 12. I also had the opportunity while living in the North Country to be the first Head Start teacher and the first kindergarten teacher at Whitefield School. I left the North Country and then went to Salem, where I was offered a position to be the director of a private school. And I held that position for 2 years and then was invited to come to Concord to serve in state government as a consultant to the Title I office in the Division of Instruction in the New Hampshire Department of Education. And that was 1969, July 1, 1969, I began my job. And in September 1969, I moved my family to Concord. And my connection has deepened over the years, and Concord is now my home. Although they say in New Hampshire, if you're not born here, you're never a native, but it is my chosen home, and I think I made an excellent choice. I worked in state government for most of my years, and both in the Department of Education, but then I left briefly to join the Academy of Applied Science, which was one of the organizations that started the Law Center when it was known as the Franklin Pierce Law Center. And then I went back to state government and started the Department of Early Childhood at the New Hampshire Community College, NHGI. Concord's Community College. It changed its name after I left. I had always been involved in committees debating issues relative to children and families. And so I guess it was in 1996, the person who represented our ward, which was Ward 3 at the time, was resigning because she had 2 little children and didn't feel she could meet the demands of working in the legislature. So she asked if I might be interested in running for the legislature. I approached the president of NHGI, and at that time I was department chair of the early childhood program. But I had been there for 8 years. It was a good department. I had great faculty. We were doing and growing and all of the things that you measure a successful department by. I told him what had happened, and he said, well, do you want to do it? And I said, well, I'd be interested in running. There's no guarantee that I'm going to win because I was running against an incumbent at the time. My husband, who had been in the legislature years before, said, if you want to get elected, you have to do retail politicking. You have to go door to door. And I said, oh, that sounds so silly. You know, I'm really not interested in doing door to door. But then one September, he said, it's a beautiful day, you know, this would be a good day to start. So I thought, well, I'll start on my own street. And I left about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I came back at 4. And my husband, Bob, said, well, how far did you go? And I said, well, I did the 3 houses on Lower Pennacook Street. And he said, only 3? And I said, well, it was so interesting getting to know my neighbors. I've been in the legislature now for 18 years. I spent 12 years on Children and Family Law Committee, which was very interesting. I served 4 years as chair of that committee. And then I was asked to move on to education as the minority policy leader in the year 2010. There was a big shift in the majority party at that time. Concord is in a very mini version with a population of just under 40,000. It is growing. In a way, we have new Americans coming into our community. It is growing in diversity, and it is certainly growing, when I say diversity, ethnically diverse as well as economically diverse. And I would hope that would continue. I would hope that the emphasis on the arts would continue, because I think those are the activities and the programs that enrich our lives.